Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's episode of Hey Sister. Hey Sister, how you doing?
I'm good. I have gotten a little bit of rest. It was a very long weekend, celebrating the 92nd Far Western Regional Conference, but it's the first ever virtual. It's in the record books. Amen. And now my fiance is boiling something and the pepper is gonna kill me. So I'm just gonna try to stay on this side of glory while he is cooking. Amen.
Well, we appreciate. Look, at least he's taking care of you by
Yes,
boiling
he
something
bring
and giving you
and
some
bringing
nice
me some
little fresh
water.
water, so you don't get
Yes.
parched throughout the episode. Well, folks, if you're tuning in tonight, we want to say, hey, how you doing? Drop in the comments. Let us know who you are, where you're tuning in from. We have one of our big fans, Miss
Hey,
Jody.
Miss
Hey, sister, how you
Jody.
doing? If you are out there, we want you to like, follow, share, subscribe to our channel on YouTube, and make sure you click that bell button so you get notifications whenever we go live and never miss an episode. We also want you to join the conversation tonight in the comments. That's where all the action happens, in the comments. And we're so excited about tonight's episode. We have just a wonderful, wonderful guest. It is still Women's History Month. That's right. Just like Black History Month at 365, 24/7, Women's History is as well. The future is female. Thank you for representing Vantage Point Coaching tonight, sister. And we definitely want you to join the conversation in the comments. That's where the action is. And we have a great woman who is a her story maker who's going to join us tonight. But in typical Hey Sister fashion, we got to get this party started with some hot topics. So last week when we were on air, that was the big interview with Meghan Markle, Prince Harry, and Oprah Winfrey. And this entire week, it has gone down about that one interview. And the hot topic is, oops, it's racism again. So, sister, did you get a chance to watch the episode, or did you just catch the clips and see some of the fallout?
I caught the clips, and I think the cliff notes were enough.
I love how you said that the cliff notes were enough. It's very interesting, especially because it's a family drama. Obviously, I thought that was very interesting. But watching some of the behavior, so we saw the Piers Morgan behavior, we saw Sharon Osbourne, we've seen any manner of people who are in the British press want to say and explain how Britain is not really racist, and in the British press they're not really racist. And then they bring on any manner of one or two individual Black people who may have gone to the castle so they can say, oh, they're not racist. But then you have all the Black journalists in Britain like, no, yeah, it's racist over here. And then what we know, y'all did kind of invent colonialization and the triangular trade. It was tobacco, people, and I can't remember what the third thing was, but stop it. Basically, at the end of the day, we know that systemic racism, we know that as women, our positions have often been a threat to patriarchy and patriarchal systems. And so what it boiled down to is like racism at the root of it reared its ugly head again. And for anyone who knows anything about history to suggest that racism isn't a part of what this story is about, I think it's just foolhardy. So that's my take.
I agree, and I will just add to that. I think it's the insult to injury for me.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, when a Black person tells you that they've experienced racism and they provide evidence of said racism, it is not for you to tell them that they did not. It is not for you to what if or yes and them or suggest that, oh, but this happened as well. That's not what it is. When when I saw Piers Morgan walk off his the Good Morning Britain or whatever the name of the show is, the gentleman that was speaking to him was also a gentleman of mixed
Mixed race.
heritage. And he was speaking not from an opinion, it was from lived experience. And so when you have somebody speaking to you and telling you precisely what they've lived and experienced and witnessed through someone else, it would help if you just stop for a moment and say, tell me more about that. Listen and actually attempt to learn. But the storming off and then you deciding to quit your job, well, hey.
And he really didn't quit because Megan and 21, I think, or 41,000 of the people called into Great Morning Britain or called into the media and said, this is a problem.
Right. But let's just say he did quit. Let's just, for the sake of argument, say he did quit. Guess what? That in and of itself is white privilege, because it's very few Black folks that I am aware of who can just say, you know what? I'm going to walk off this job. I quit. I'm done. And still be in a position where financially they're not going to be hurt and likely going to get another job somewhere else in the very near future. So I really, really would have appreciated if instead of, I'll give the Queen credit. Okay. Instead of saying it didn't exist or it didn't happen, she simply said, this is a family matter and we're going to deal with it as a family. There are things that I wasn't aware of, but there are things that people may have different remembrances of. And that's okay. I'm okay with you saying, maybe we interpreted this situation differently, because I just had that situation happen with some friends the other day. We can interpret the same situation differently, but to tell someone that they have been disrespectful to the crown and they have brought shame and they have, get off my phone and stop it.
Or for Sharon Osbourne, who was in such a great defense of him, to say, don't you cry, I'm the one who feel attacked. Girl,
you feel attacked because the
and you
Queen,
gonna tell no, she was in defending Pierce Morgan in the conversation. Anyway, we're gonna go to Tita's comment and we're gonna move on because we got other hot topics to talk about. She said they were enough. The clips were enough. I watched the whole thing and couldn't get back those 2 hours of what I already knew. How about that? So we're gonna move on because here's another family drama that is brewing all around. Kirk Franklin. So Kirk Franklin's 30-something-year-old son decides 33. To post. I said something. Let it be known. Okay, he posted a video of his father, and he was using any manner of expletives in his description and or tirade in that conversation. And Kirk has come out and he's posted a video on Twitter, and it says, "Hey, I have all manner of language I use. I was inappropriate. There's parts that were left out, obviously." What say you? Let me tell y'all something. Once again, it was a move to shame. And now he, who also, like a Sharon Osbourne, who was trying to put himself in a better position, is getting dragged. I'm speaking of the son, is getting dragged because no, you actually trying to shame, embarrass, and hurt this other person because you think that I'm going to expose you. But I don't know any manner of adult. I don't care if they are a Christian. I don't care if they're the Pope, who hasn't probably uttered an expletive in their life at some point in time, or if someone who has drove them to anger, or has someone who they have tried to, a family member who you've been in a relationship with, who you've tried to love, help, and support, and they just don't want to get it, that you don't use a few choice words. That's my take. I don't know. What's your take?
Well, again, this is interesting because it comes on the heels of a conversation that had with two of my friends. And, one of my friends made a comment to another one and I heard it and I was taken aback. And it resulted in us having a bit of a dispute about the intentionality of what was said. Mm-hmm. But the comment that was made to one friend said to the other one, like, "Oh, I'm so proud of you. You're using your words." I took it as a bit condescending. But the person who was told this, they didn't take it as condescending. So, I had to reevaluate my position on it and why I was offended by it. But I say that because in that conversation, it led to a different conversation about the use of expletives as an example. And for me, I'm like, well, expletives are words too. Mm-hmm. So when someone says you're using your words, yeah, many of us have these SAT words. I get tripped up on words every now and again, but I'd like to try to express myself in as nice and respectful of a way as possible. But sometimes them good old expletives is all that work.
Sometimes the well-placed curse word is just that. It's well-placed because it fits the situation and the circumstance. How about that?
Absolutely. And so if I had a 33-year-old child who, according to Kirk Franklin, this has been a toxic relationship for some time. We all know that Kirk himself was adopted. His own family, he has a tumultuous past with his own family relationships. I don't know what the full scope of the conversation is. But again, sometimes even good Christians use not so good words. And and perhaps we would all prefer not to. I mean, I would love to be an orator like Michael Eric Dyson or I don't know, any manner of orator that you want to prefer to, Nikki Giovanni. Like, I would love to have flowery words and always be able to say the right thing precisely at all times. But I'm not that person.
And here's the thing, y'all. Like Jody says here, I told y'all Jesus was flipping tables in the temple. Here's the thing. Sometimes excrement is a pile of bullshit. How about that? How about that? That's just where we are sometimes, right? We human.
We're human. And they were in a very heated conversation and a
very human moment.
And at the end of the day, is it the first time that that's probably happened? Probably not, I'm sure. But at the same time,
that don't make him any less worthy of praising Jesus.
Absolutely. And
okay.
And he makes some really good music, and it uplifts me. I listened to some of it this morning. Amen.
How about that? And Tita said he probably got mad getting cut off. Maybe. I don't know. We don't know the root, and we don't need to. But speaking of music and Kirk Franklin and what you got inspired with, tonight is the Grammys. Anything you're looking forward to tonight at the Grammys? I can tell you, I don't know what new music then came out. Because 2020, I ain't heard name. I had name an album, name a new music, so a whole bunch of drop. Other than Silk Sonic, other than Bruno and Anderson .Paak, I ain't heard nothing. But I will say this: I did take the time because one of my friends was like, it was cute. And yesterday, I just wanted to have a little escapism, and I watched the Tom and Jerry movie. Let me tell y'all, that soundtrack is fire. Y'all go watch that Tom and Jerry movie and go to Spotify and download the Tom and Jerry movie soundtrack. Because it starts off, the whole movie starts off with Tribe Called Quest. I was like, wait, like what is Tom and Jerry? I don't remember Tom and Jerry like this.
I didn't know Tom and Jerry had a movie. So that
that's how you don't even know what records came out last year.
I don't even know that they call them records. At the end of the day, I know Taylor Swift is performing. I still don't understand why we love Taylor Swift so much. So if someone could explain that, that would probably help me get into a deeper conversation about. Well, man said the soundtrack is good. How does he even know? Because I don't know nothing about the Tom and Jerry movie.
Y'all don't sleep on that Tom and Jerry soundtrack. That's all I'm gonna tell you.
So Taylor Swift is performing. I'm still trying to figure out if she's a pop star, a country singer. And so you said some New Orleanians have been nominated.
Yes, and so that's going to lead us to our next hot topic. There are actually 4 New Orleanians who are nominated. They are from the historic St. Augustine High School, and we want to shout out St. Aug High School. One of our good friends works there, Mr. Austin Taylor. He's been on our show before. We absolutely love Austin and all that he is doing at his high school alma mater. And here's the thing about St. Aug, it is a historically Black high school for young men and preparing young men. And there are 4 men who are alum of St. Aug who've been nominated for Grammys tonight. I don't want to miss any, but we know John Batista's one. We know PJ Morton is one. You got to give me the other 2, sister. You got to do a quick. You got to do a quick Google search. Oh man, I'm gonna figure it out.
It says PJ Martin, Bobby Rush, and Lettucey, because technically Lettucey is a New Orleanian.
Okay, but she's not a St. Aug grad. There's one more.
She's not, but maybe it was Bobby Rush. I don't know.
No, I'm gonna find it and I'm gonna post it in the comments for y'all later, because I know there's 4 St. Aug. I know John Batista's one and PJ Morton is the other, and there were 2 more.
Okay, wait, let me see. They said he was one of 4 former St. Augustine High School students nominated for individual 2021 Grammys. The others didn't fare as well, so apparently they didn't win. But
well, St. Aug was also featured on. They were featured on 60 Minutes tonight, and they also just
known as Timothy Thetford when he attended St. Augustine High School and played in the famed Marching 100. Lost out to Nas for Best Rap Album, and R&B singer Luke James also attended St. Aug. Lost out to John Legend for Best R&B Album. I just want whoever wrote this article to know he was one WON, no ONE. But anyway,
we all make typos, but nonetheless, they also won the state basketball championship yesterday as well. So it was a great St. Aug weekend. And we are going to bring our guest on tonight because she wanted to talk about this last hot topic. She'll probably want to shout out St. Aug too. But we are so excited tonight to be joined by Ms. Sunni LeBeouf. She serves as the city attorney for the city of New Orleans. And so she is one of the 2 Black women who are in the highest positions of power in the city of New Orleans, serving alongside the historic mayor, Mayor Cantrell, who I have to shout out because she's an alum of Xavier University of Louisiana, because these Southern Knights are not going to run you tonight.
Yes, because Sunny Jones is a Southern Knights.
That's right. That's right.
Look, you Southern Knights ain't running me tonight, so I'm just saying, I got to put it out there.
Hey, sister. Hey, sister.
Hey, sister. How you doing?
Wonderful.
Hopefully we didn't take too much time, but we want to bring you on. I know you're very proud of what St. Aug is doing, but this last hot topic we want to talk about tonight is that Drew Brees announced his retirement for the NFL. And so we're going to call you a pseudo New Orleanian because you are, you also have some Baton Rouge roots. We had that conversation in the pre-show. But for someone who also calls New Orleans home, tell us what Drew Brees has meant to the city and what does his retirement mean for the city and the Saints?
Absolutely. So we as a city, and me personally, we are just grateful to Drew Brees for what he did for the city of New Orleans post-Katrina. I was at that first game after Katrina when the dome was finally back online, and I will never forget it. And we have Drew Brees to thank for just lifting New Orleans when we were on our knees post Katrina. And he has had a wonderful ride, historic wins. We are grateful. And the thing that I love seeing about him most is that, you know, he appears to be a real family man. And I like that about him. And that's how New Orleans is. Like, we love our families. And he just has loved on this city. And I know that retirement will be wonderful for him. And we're just grateful for what he did here in the city and for our Super Bowl win. Unlike Atlanta, you know, we do have a Super Bowl win. Yes, so we're grateful to Drew for that. But he means so much to so many New Orleanians. You know, I'm grateful. And I know the entire city thanks him tonight and celebrates him. And I know we have many more Drew celebrations to come.
Yes, absolutely. And it would have been nice to, you know, because we were at that Super Bowl. So it's such a great memory. We know that Drew, he did it as long as he could. And I think as much as he embraced New Orleans embraced him. And I think that's why the love is so strong, because he was at a point and had coming off a major surgery when he came to the Saints. And so, when you go through something and someone takes a chance on you. And I think the city took a chance on him, and that's why he is will be a forever Saint in the New Orleans lexicon. And because it's all because of just what they were able to grow and build together, and really taking a chance on each other, because he also was taking a chance coming to New Orleans. So, we thank you for your years of service. Now, I'm just telling y'all, Jameis is not the answer, but I'm just going to state that for the record, because I'm here in Florida. So I'm going to let y'all know he's not going to be the answer. He can be part of the solution. But y'all's New Orleans Saints, y'all still need a quarterback. But y'all know I'm not watching the NFL no more anyway, so it is.
We do need a quarterback. And so for Mr. Jameis, whatever he can contribute to the team, we are excited to have him. And hopefully he will perform well and behave himself and all of that good stuff. But the thing that I'm grateful also to Drew for is I wanted to see him go out on top. And I was hopeful that his passion for the game and for the city, wouldn't have him continue in a way that would, I don't know, cast a cloud over his legacy. And I think the time is right, and I'm excited about his future, and I'm glad that he chose to do it. And he is going out on top, even though his final game probably didn't end the way he wanted. It in no way tarnished his reputation.
Absolutely.
And he, he'll be in the Hall of Fame, and he'll be in our hearts forever. He's our Drew. He got us our Super Bowl, and everything about what he did for New Orleans, we're grateful for him.
Absolutely. Sister, did you want to speak on that? Because I wanted to kind of get into Miss Sunny, and our story about Sunny.
She's gonna say Sunny Dawn. She knows my middle name. Is that what's happening?
Because that's what she normally calls you. So that's what I call you. You Sunny Dawn in my head, girl.
Yes, people who know me well, they know that I'm Sunny Dawn. That's true.
Exactly. I just as far as Drew Brees is concerned, I echo everything that you all have said. That first game after Katrina, I wasn't able to be there, but I was working at ESPN at the time, and so I remember seeing it, and I, it was very, very emotional for all of us. And of course, I had the opportunity to, we had the opportunity to go to the Super Bowl. You can see my stuff back here. I'm not good with that. And I just remember in that moment when we won, it was extremely, extremely emotional for us. And I remember hearing about the city at that time. We were obviously in Florida. The city erupted, but it was unlike any other championship, right? Because it wasn't about tearing up stuff or whatever. It was just about love and passion and affection. But it was also because for so long, we have been the city or the team that had been the underdogs. And finally, we were the champions. And finally, we were truly America's team. I'm sorry, Cowboy fans, but we were. And so, and I think that is the beautiful part of Drew Brees' legacy, is that he, like you said, took a chance on a city. The city took a chance on him. He put the team on his back, and we are forever grateful for that. So thank you, Mr. Brees.
Yes, fantastic.
Thank you, Drew. Thank you, Drew.
Thank you. All right, so then let's talk about you, Miss Sunny Dawn, because somebody else said that. LaKenya Collins says yes, Sunny Dawn.
That's right.
We want to talk about you. We want you to tell us about your story. But as we're preparing for the show, I was like, well, I have a couple recollections, some very keen recollections of you too, Sunny. You were like, well, let me see before you tell these stories. And I'm like, I think I got good recollections. And so the first time we really met, very random. Didn't even know you were associated with my sister. We were on a bus. We were at our sororities international conference, our biannual meeting. It was in Chicago. We were on a random bus taking us to the convention center from a hotel or back or forth, however it was. And people just started talking about who they were and where they were from, and everybody was shouting it out. And I mentioned my name, and I was Hill at the time, and I said my sister was Christina. You were like, oh, Christina, she's my heart. And I was like, you jumped up. I'm Sunny. And I was like, okay, all right.
That's right. And it's the same even now, Christina. That's my heart to heart. I love Christina, but our sorority is strong, and the bond is vast. And so it just was exciting, and it's always exciting to meet new sorority sisters, but then to know that there was a connection beyond that was exciting also. So I remember the Chicago Boulé, and it was my first impact. And so I remember it well, and it was good to meet you then, and you were beautiful, and Christina's sister, so it just doesn't get any better than that.
Yay. Well, we appreciate that. The other time was at her graduation, and you talked about, she had a rough go of it that last year, and you pulled her to the side, and she's already had her crying moment, y'all, so she's not going to cry on
you didn't
tonight.
have to tell everybody, because they were going to be like, oh, she's keeping it together really good.
but yeah, we because I think you brought some emotion to her, because you were just telling her how proud you were of her, because she had a rough time at the end of that year, and how she just really kind of held things together. But hey, you out here trailblazing too. So we know all the times that you've haven't always been great, and having sisters like Christina to kind of have your back and hold you up, I know that means a lot. So
it absolutely does. And I was proud of her then. I'm proud of her now as well. Christina is just brilliant. And it's been my honor knowing her, meeting her in college. And she's an advocate. Christina, for as long as I have known her, has been courageous and fearless in her willingness to speak up for people who sometimes won't or can't or don't have the words to speak up for themselves. And so she still is doing it. And the unsaid thing, Christina will say it, and sometimes it needs to be said. So I appreciate that about her, and just her brilliance, and just how she is so bold in everything that she does, and she puts all of herself into it, whatever it is. And so it's just very admirable.
So then let's talk about your story. Miss 2020 City Business Woman of the Year for the city of New Orleans. We got to shout it out and say it. We want to hear your story. So tell us, who is Sunny, and how did you get to be the city attorney for New Orleans?
Absolutely. So I spent some of my youth in Baton Rouge and some of my youth in New Orleans. I call both cities home, quite frankly, because both cities have taken great care of me. And I went to Southern University and A&M College, as was mentioned before, and the George Washington University Law School is where I got my law degree. How I came into this role just was called to serve. I had worked at a law firm, and I also worked for the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Eastern District of Louisiana. And when the opportunity came up to serve as city attorney, I imagined it would be quite a daunting task, but I was willing to take it on because, as the saying goes, if not me, then who? If not now, then when? If this is an opportunity for me to use the skills and gifts that God has given me to share with others and to positively impact policy or impact the lives of people who will never know that I did, then I wanted to do that. But I will tell you, I had no idea that 2020 was coming. So for whatever I thought the task was going to be, it has been so much more. Mm-hmm. But for so many in leadership, and I just want to pause and shout out our mayor, because of course, being the first female in the city's 300-year history, that in and of itself is historic. But then we've had so many challenges, and just the way that she meets each challenge fearlessly and with the sense of not being afraid to simply do what's right, no matter the potential consequence. It certainly is leadership, and that's what leadership is. So I've had the honor of working alongside her and supporting her initiatives, some very important ones, in trying to move the city forward. But when I was absolutely surprised and so elated to be selected as the City Business Woman of the Year, based on what I see of what they presented in their publication. It was just based on how challenging the year had been, and so much, how much work we had to do, and how many difficult decisions we had to make. And so I'm grateful that they acknowledged government service, because it's an honor for me to work alongside so many people who have dedicated so much of themselves to the city of New Orleans this year. So I share that honor with everyone who is working alongside of me in the midst of unprecedented challenges. And that word gets overused, but really, so many things have happened this year that a pandemic. I mean, the last pandemic was in the 1800s, for God's sake. So we just had a cyber attack and a building collapse and a number of really strange occurrences. But what women do, right? We just keep moving forward. We do it a step at a time, and we just keep doing the work. And so it's been my honor to do that.
I love that. Well, then I want to talk a little bit more about the pandemic, and then I'm going to toss it to Christina, because serving during the pandemic. So you mentioned the pandemic. Yes, the building collapsed with the casino that collapsed. But so much has been, the pandemic has sucked up so much of the energy, of the air, of the vibrancy of the city. For the city to not have Mardi Gras, like, first of all, the first year they wanted to blame the mayor for, you let them come to Mardi Gras, and now we got this pandemic, and then now it's like, you ain't letting us have Mardi Gras. I was like, can y'all let that woman do, like you said, leaders do what's right even when it's not popular. So talk about some of the challenges you face, because I know you as a city attorney, you've been working overtime dealing with some of the challenges. And when I'm talking about challenges, I'm talking about specifically lawsuits being filed from businesses and what have you, individuals saying they're protesting what you're doing. And
that's right.
So tell us about that.
Sure. There have been challenges and lawsuits, and I think you hit the nail on the head when you talked about Mardi Gras. The prior year, everyone was post Mardi Gras saying, well, New Orleans was a super spreader event because of Mardi Gras. And then you move forward, and there are all these questions about, well, why can't we have it? And by all accounts, there was no dispute about what was required to mitigate with the pandemic. Certainly, social distancing has proven helpful. Wearing masks certainly has proven helpful, particularly before the vaccine. And the vaccine is really just rolling out now. So I was really perplexed at how we could even think of doing Mardi Gras. I've never seen a socially distant Mardi Gras. Like, it is people on the streets piled in, one on top of the other. So again, just acknowledging the mayor's courage and leadership. In fact, when we learned of the pandemic, the mayor had to make a very quick decision about St. Patrick's Day at that time. And we're right in that season right now. That was around the time when we had our first positive. And Lord have mercy, when she said that the St. Patrick's Day parade couldn't roll, I mean, people were livid, and some misbehaved and said unkind things, if you will. And interestingly, there was state leadership who subsequently had to apologize because she absolutely had made the right call. Mm-hmm. She saved lives by doing that, and she has saved lives all year long by making those hard decisions, following the data, and doing what she knew to be right based on the expert information that she was receiving. And so with those lawsuits, the judges who have handled those lawsuits or overseen those lawsuits certainly have deferred to elected leadership, because that is the job that they were elected to do. And you can't make decisions about public safety from the bench. You have to allow the elected leadership to make decisions that are in the best interest of the city. And New Orleans is very unique for a number of reasons. We of course, have a leading tourism industry, and people come here from all over the world. So that is a consideration that many other cities don't have to think of as they loosen and tighten restrictions. We have to think about international travel and how do we manage, maintain, and mitigate. But I hope and I pray, and from what the data is showing currently, we're on the right side of this. And in fact, the mayor and her health team and experts have been reporting that we're vaccinated more than any other municipalities and jurisdictions. And our COVID positivity rate has always been great and better than our surrounding neighbors' COVID positivity rate. So it means that the hard decisions that she has made will pay off. And the hope is that when we are able to open up, people will return to New Orleans because it's a wonderful place, and they'll know that the leadership cares about their safety as well. So it's been a ride, but I'm very proud of the work that the mayor's team has done to protect New Orleanians and our good friends from neighboring places and all around the world even.
Yes, and well, hopefully we can get her on one day so we can talk about it, because we definitely want to give her roses. But I just want to say to all of you people, New Orleanians, and not just you New Orleanians, the rest of the state of Louisiana, but also all of you surrounding the 48 contiguous U.S. and around the world. Y'all don't come bring y'all stuff to New Orleans. Y'all better put y'all mask on. That's all I'm gonna say. Because I am a Louisiana native, and I fly in and out of Louis Armstrong International Airport when I go home, and I love me New Orleans, and I am ready to get back for all the festivals that we miss in one more festival season. Crawfish festivals, French Quarter Festival, Jazz Festival. We missing one more festival season. Y'all don't bring y'all stuff to New Orleans. Y'all stay where y'all at right now. We good.
And I would add that, New Orleans has a beautiful new airport currently. And so it was basically shut down not long after it was completed. But it is beautiful and a perfect complement to our wonderful city. And when we are able to reopen fully, it is a part of the magnificence of our city, just looking at the airport. So it's great. So wait until you can start flying again and you're comfortable doing so. But the airport will be a part of the experience going forward in New Orleans.
And my fellow Xavier Wright says we need to be open by homecoming.
Well, listen.
And he says, please follow the science. Our homecoming is November. But listen. If the rest of y'all stay away, we can go back to our homecoming. How about that?
Well, you know what? Jazz Fest is currently saying that they are going to host in the fall. So that's where they are now. So it's quite possible that if people do what they're supposed to do, we'll be ready for homecoming. And I'm going to come to celebrate with you. I'm not going to miss it myself. So if we all do the right thing, hopefully homecoming will happen in a way that people want it to happen and remember it happening, and most enjoy celebrating it, close and with lots of people around them and celebrating with them. With their fellow Xavier alum.
Yes, indeed. Well, sister, I know you had a question. I know you have several questions that you want to ask of your good friend Sunny. So I'm tossing the rest of these over to you. How about that?
Okay. All the rest of them to me. Sure. No. So first of all, yes, we love the new airport because everything is just new and old, right? We love the new airport, and when it was open, there was a celebration. Nobody parties like the city of New Orleans, and I try to explain to people, obviously not a native of New Orleans, native of Thibodeau. I try to be very clear about that because I know people are very protective about their city. But I love New Orleans. It is my favorite American city. And there is no party like a party in New Orleans. And right. So, even the opening of the airport was a party. So I know that when we are able to do this in full force, New Orleans will roll out the red carpet in a way that only it can right. For travel and business again. But one of the, I guess, unintended consequences of COVID-19 is that Mayor Cantrell has sort of become a social media celebrity. What has that experience been like, and how does she embrace that? And I mean, you are a celebrity in and of your own right, but how has
Not
she
like the
embraced
mayor.
that?
Not like the mayor. Well, let me say this. Mayor Cantrell has a sense of humor. So she kind of gets a kick out of some of what they put out there. And, people have asked her about being called TD.
Mhm.
Because there are those who take offense to that. They almost see it as an insult because, I mean, this woman is the CEO of the city of New Orleans. So she is the leader. And TD, people don't see it that way, but, she appreciates there's a cultural appreciation that comes with the references to TV. And typically, when it's used and how it's used within our community, it is a compliment. It is saying, thank you, Auntie. Thank you, Mother. Thank you for caring about us. Thank you for putting our health and safety first. And the way she leads, and people see that as well, is in a very nurturing way. And if something isn't getting done, like many of us, it's like, get out of the way and let me do it, And so it is. People appreciate that about her, and she has a sense of humor, and so she gets a kick out of it. I'll tell you.
Oh, good, good, good. And so for yourself, as you are now, is this your second or third year as city attorney?
So May will make 3 years.
May will make 3 years.
years.
Okay. So as you are embarking on your third year as city attorney, what has been some of the good and wonderful things that you've been able to see as far as the city's progress? And then where are some areas that you like to see the city maybe make some improvements as a part of the work that you're doing?
Sure. So one of the things that we were really excited about, the mayor came in and was demanding that our New Orleans receive its fair share of the revenue, because what was happening is tax revenue was going to certain entities where the city couldn't utilize those monies for infrastructure. So it just, defied logic or reason that people come to New Orleans for the people of New Orleans, for the culture of New Orleans. And so our guests are using our infrastructure. I mean, because we had a significant number of tourists moving through the city and enjoying our people and our music and our infrastructure. And not contributing to it, right? So that, we had certain entities that were just sitting on like 200 million, 300 million in their surplus. Meanwhile, City of the Sewage and Water Board was really struggling, and some other city arms where services are needed for vulnerable populations. So the mayor said, hey, New Orleans is entitled to its fair share. We certainly want to be able to grow our economy, and tourism is a big part of that, but we also need to invest in people and our infrastructure. So she fought and she won to have a portion of the monies at issue directed to city government and issues of addressing infrastructure with the Sewage and Water Board and with the City of New Orleans. So that is something that we are really all very proud of. The work that she's done around COVID, very proud of that. The work that she's done to demand our fair share across the board. For whatever reason, people always seem to feel that, New Orleans doesn't have to be cared for or taken care of. And we know what happens to things when you don't take care of them. So she has been very vocal and victorious in addressing New Orleans being deserving of its fair share.
Well, can I say a little bit, because I want you to toot your horn a little bit, Madam City Attorney,
Yes.
because the mayor is the face of some of these challenges, but the one in the courtroom or preparing the cases and the briefs. Right. Is Miss Sunni LeBeouf. So can you toot your horn a little bit, girl?
Oh, sure, absolutely.
Come on, sister. Hey, sister.
Yes, hey, sister. I love it. That's right. So in the law department, we have in the last year or so, under my leadership and direction, literally I have negotiated probably between $8 and $10 million for the city of New Orleans. And that, again, speaks, though, to the Mayor's Fair Share initiative, but it's the work of the law department and the city attorney that has helped that to happen. We've had some great litigation wins, and most importantly, on the COVID front, and any win that allows the public to continue to be healthy and allows our leadership to continue to have the discretion that leadership needs to make hard decisions is an incredible win for the city of New Orleans. So we're in court fighting on behalf of New Orleans every day. But more than that, I mean, we have the opportunity to impact policy and we are behind the scenes advising the client as to how we can best accomplish the initiatives that are needed. There's a lot of bureaucracy within city government. So being able to successfully maneuver in a way that allows the city of New Orleans and the people of New Orleans to win is what I'm most proud of. And so we've been able to do a lot of that. One of the challenges that, well, let me say it as a win, and then we'll talk about the challenge. So also something that people are asking for all over the country is police reform. And New Orleans is leading the country, quite frankly, in its police reform, and for everything that people were asking for around the fest that was this summer. Our police department had already implemented those types of reforms that people were demanding. And so I'm so proud of the work that our police department is doing in constitutional policing, and I think they're out front leading. One of the things that I think we have to figure out as a city, and not just for New Orleans, but many cities like New Orleans, is, how do we best address crime? How do we best address public safety? And so the balance is making sure that our police departments are operating constitutionally, but also making sure that our citizens and tourists feel safe. So how do we effectuate that balance is something that New Orleans and many other cities like New Orleans have to continue to work on. Their crime rates have gone up in certain areas in New Orleans and other areas during COVID. We've had some unique circumstances with shutdowns and economies throughout the country being affected that has, of course, created a snowball effect. So trying to find a way to boost the economy and allow and create opportunities, which is how I think we are able to best address, not solve, because you will never solve a crime problem, but how we can best address, mitigate, make sure that we're doing all that we're doing, all that we can do, to help to make certain that our investments are the correct investments for what the people of New Orleans need.
Right.
Yeah, this is a great comment we have here. It says Mayor Cantrell is one of 8 Black women to be mayor of cities that fall into the top 100 in the nation. I hope we can add some colleagues to her club with Tashara Jones in St. Louis and Maya Wiley in New York City. So both of those women are seeking office right now. And we know that the mayor of Atlanta, the mayor of San Francisco, we got some sister mayors out there. So let's keep DC, let's keep expanding those numbers, because we know that representation matters.
And Chicago, I'm sorry, I had to.
Yeah, Chicago. I'm not gonna count them all.
Right,
I just name a couple. I went on each coast.
I got you.
We started going to the north, east, and west. I was just going to the 2 ends.
So you just go.
And I will say, representation and leadership absolutely matters. And for too long, leadership has not accurately reflected the people who are being served. And the reason that's so important is because perspective matters. And that goes for city, state, and federal. If you don't have people making decisions for you who can associate with the challenges that you face, you won't have legislation and or initiatives and or policies created that will help, your communities. And it doesn't come from a place of malice. Most of the time, it comes from a place of unknowing. It comes from a place of just having no perception around what it is that people are experiencing and where their greatest needs are. And again, our most vulnerable communities sometimes aren't in position to really speak voice to their issues. So having leadership in place that understands and has personally observed through familial experiences or just having what they've observed just in their ordinary lives makes a difference in policy, law, and initiatives and priorities.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so important that you are a a home girl. So as Patrice put up, both New Orleans and Baton Rouge, both of your homes have Black women at the helm. And so it is imperative that women like you exist also and work in the city attorney's office. So just segueing a little bit, you are also a wife and a mother of 2 sons. Tell us more about that part of your work.
Well, that is my most important work. My husband, Derek, is so supportive, and I could not do the work that I do if he weren't as supportive as he is, because we have 2 growing boys, and certainly we want to make sure that they have everything that they need. So we have to tag team. And so I'm grateful for his support as we do this thing called life, and we just tag team on supporting each other in our careers and in raising our children, because again, that is our most important job, making sure that our children are responsible citizens and just giving them investing in them and making sure that they have everything that they need. So that is the most important thing that I do. I'll share a quick story. So it's Women's History Month, right? And so we're talking about women in leadership. This happened many years ago, but it has stayed with me. And I just want to share it with you. So I was completely overwhelmed, had to drop the kids off at camp. My husband was out of town, and he called and asked me to do one more thing that just kind of tipped the tipped the scale, like, Lord, help me. So I was late, and I was taking my sons into the JCC for camp. There was a lady, as I was coming out, actually, she was coming in, and I mean, she was dressed in her workout clothes, head to toe. I was looking so relaxed and like she had been doing yoga, and here I was, head spinning, thinking to myself, today, some days, I wish that this was me, right? Just chilling, just going into the JCC with my matching exercise attire on and not like spinning, trying to be mom, wife, lawyer, everything. And literally, I was running one way on the sidewalk, leaving, having dropped the kids off, and she was passing the other way, and we kind of touched shoulders. And she said, "Wherever you're going, I wish I was going." And I thought, wow. Right. So here we are, 2 strangers. We're crossing each other really quickly. I've never seen her before in my life. But as I'm approaching her in my suit with my head spinning, but she doesn't know my head is spinning, right? Thinking about how I want to go into the JCC and do yoga right now. She is looking at me and thinking, I wish I was her. Wherever she's going, I want to go there. And so just as we celebrate women and leadership and wherever we are in our lives and whatever we're doing, I think we're right where we're supposed to be. And there's nobody who can pass us on the sidewalk or anywhere else where we can see something that we want or that we would rather have in that moment. We are right where we're supposed to be, doing what God has called us to do. And so I'm so grateful for that moment that I always like to share it, because just the irony of 2 women, we were not the same race, we were headed in different directions, not the same age or whatever the case, all those things. And she was wishing she was me. And I was like, I want to relax like you. So just for all the women everywhere doing whatever you're doing, you're right where you're supposed to be. You're doing what God called you to do.
Absolutely. That's beautiful. I love that. I love that story. Last week, Christina teed up this topic that she wanted to ask all of our guests for Women History Month around meritocracy. And she laid the framework out nicely, and there's a few components to it. But so, sister, why don't you talk about, what you want to ask Sunni about meritocracy, especially as it relates to us as women and women of color?
Yeah, so I think that one of the things that we are often told, particularly as women and as Black women, is to, put your head down, don't get involved in the politics. And again, as Black people, we hear you have to work twice as hard to get half as much. But my question was, is that a meritocracy mindset? In that, are we talking about that working twice as hard being a component of education, skill, training, knowledge, things like that? And are we teaching our children to work twice as hard when it comes to our network and connecting and having those sort of building those sort of relationships that will carry them into the future. So, one, does meritocracy even exist? What's your thoughts on that? And two, do you believe that we have to work twice as hard to get half as much? And is that a meritocracy based mindset?
All right, I'll start with the second. I do sometimes observe that we have to work harder to accomplish portions of what we see by our peer and our equals. And when I say that, we're talking about credentials, right? We're talking about who are you? Where did you go to school? What experience do you have? So I think that for African Americans, that has historically been an issue. And so we are slowly working our way into leadership positions. But when we talk about meritocracy, it is, how do we define meritocracy? And then the second part of that is, who gets to decide whose merit prevails? And so the challenge that we faced as African Americans is that we typically have not been holistically in positions of power. We have sprinkles, here and there. So when conversations are being had about eligible talent for high level positions and or opportunities, we haven't always been in those circles because our network doesn't extend to those circles. And that's, again, why representation matters, not just for elected officials, but in places, corporate, in corporate organizations, or we'll just say just in any organization. Your leadership and who they are looking to fill positions with often are the people who they are most comfortable with, and they don't always look like them. So meritocracy becomes a little uncomfortable when the question is raised as to who defines it. And when credentials are the same, who gets to decide where meritocracy prevails?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so it's a very complex theory, meritocracy. We all want to believe that if we work hard, we will achieve our goals. But African Americans haven't always seen it play out as plainly. Networking is a very important part of what is necessary to achieve success within any organization. And so broadening our networks will be an important part of what is needed in addition to obtaining credentials.
Okay. Patrice has a couple of really good comments here. She says the meritocracy is situational at best. And then she also says, for those with access and privilege, they walk in the door based on the system of keeping others out or limiting who can be in the room. Seeking elected office is about wanting to control money and power. White cisgender heteronormative men are not comfortable with power sharing. Yeah, all of those things I think play a big part. Like we started off the show with, oops, it's racism again, right? Like, oops, it's misogyny again. Because we see that's happening with Governor Cuomo in New York, right? We see these cycles of things, and I think you said this so beautifully. How do we define meritocracy, and who decides whose merit prevails, right? I think that was so beautifully said. We had another comment here. It says, Stacey Abrams says, without anyone inside to give us access, like white counterparts, we remain beyond the gates. And so I think all of those are really, really good comments as it relates to that topic.
And I would add that there's a comfort level that comes with access. And so I've even seen it, like, as I've looked at the picture of the White House under our new leadership, like there's never been a vice president who looks like the vice president. So the optics of that, I know for many who are not familiar, they probably struggle with it. Like their comfort in seeing that Kamala Harris is the vice president. She is right next to Biden. She's at the table. She's making decisions. That requires an adjustment. But unless people are correct, an adjustment for those who haven't seen it before, may not be comfortable, doesn't look like them, so it doesn't quite feel right because it is something different, that people be bold enough and courageous enough to recognize that about themselves and to make adjustments and create opportunities where they are deserved, and where people have demonstrated themselves to be worthy and um, capable of doing whatever it is that needs to be done, which we always are. And I will say unequivocally that when people say, well, I couldn't find anybody that met the criteria, it's nonsense, right? We have to be
Right.
intentional as a society and thoughtful, and we accomplish the things that are important to us. And my very good friend who is currently working toward being confirmed as the deputy for OMB, as she said during her confirmation hearings, our budget is our values. So as an organization, how are you investing, and does your budget really reflect your values?
Mhm.
Oh, put that one down, sister. That I like
And
that.
so just a thought as well for those who are just uncomfortable, even if not in a malicious way, just unfamiliar and uncomfortable and needing to really push themselves toward what is right.
All right. Well, I know we have reached our little 1 hour mark. I know we'll take a little more time here because it's all love here. We with our sisters. But what's next for Sunny? Because, and again, I had to call you out a little bit because you was praising everybody else, and I'm like, but girl, you the woman behind the scenes making these things happen. So what's next for you? Because, like you said, you've been in the role for 3 years now. The mayor is going to be up for re-election soon.
That's right.
If she's reelected, will you think about staying on? I know you're not going to give us all of that tea right now, so that's fine. But will you stay on, or is there something next for you politically, perhaps, maybe, I don't know, or something else in your future?
What is next for Sunny? So this is the what's next. I'm trying to be the best wife that I can be and the best mom that I can be. I will continue to support the mayor in all of her initiatives, and we'll continue to try to move the ball forward for the city, and all the work that I'm doing, whether internal or external. And I am a woman of faith, and I know that God will place me exactly where He wants me to be. And so I will continue to do the work, and will thank God in advance for whatever is to come. And I'm just really grateful for this incredible opportunity. It has certainly been challenging beyond what I could have contemplated, but it has allowed me to grow and contribute to community in a way that I couldn't have envisioned either. So I'm really grateful to Mayor Cantrell and to all those that I work with for allowing me to have the success that I've had in this role. And I am enjoying it, and will continue to grow. And we'll see what the future holds.
All right, that sounds good. That sounds good. Well, sister, Sunny, we'll go to you first. What do you want to say in closing tonight, and then I'll toss it to sister for her closing comments.
Certainly. Thank you so much, sisters, for having me. Christina, thank you for your friendship over these many years, going back to college, and for all that you do to serve, I think, the community, even through stimulating interesting and important conversations. So just thank you to both of you for doing that. And it's been fun. I've enjoyed myself, and we'll look forward to continuing to watch Hey Sister grow. So thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. All right, sister, what you got to say in closing?
I just have to say thank you so much for being here. You started off giving me a whole lot of accolades, but I just have to take a moment to give you your flowers as well. The one thing that people should know is that, as you told that story about the lady saying she wish she was going wherever you were going, that has been something that has been reflective of you since I've known you. You have always been the person that other people wanted to go where you were going. Sunny has always been brilliant and beautiful and funny, and she has an infectious laugh, and just the person that you're like, if there's an it girl, she is the it girl. And so always has been that way. I am honored to have known her since our days in Washington Hall. And, you know, it was something to be a Washington Hall girl on the campus of Southern University. Yes.
Like
right.
Gilbert Hall.
Yes, exactly. so being a Washington Hall girl, but to just watch her grow and just always, but Sunny always had it together. Like even in college, it would be like, gosh, she has it all the way together. I remember when she was preparing to go to law school and studying for the LSAT, and she was in her room and she would be so diligent about it. She had a schedule. She knew the hours in which she was studying and still maintained, you know, a very high GPA. She has always been this incredible. I don't know that you ever went through that phase of life like myself. I'd be like, what the hell was I thinking about when I was in school? You have always been this incredible. I'm so super proud of you. And I look forward to seeing what's next for Sunny, because whatever it is, I know it's going to be amazing. So thank you so much for being here tonight.
Thank you, Christy.
I love you so much.
I love you too.
Well, folks, that's it for tonight. We thank you for tuning in to Hey Sister. Again, we want you to like, follow. We want you to share this. If you have a love for New Orleans, we want you to share this, because here's the thing. A lot of people don't even know what you're doing as a city attorney, but you've been you know, you got that superhero cape on too, because you've been blocking and tackling and doing all types of things so that the mayor can shine, so that the safety and well-being of the community can remain intact. And I don't think people even know all the work that you doing behind the scenes. So the law department, shout out to all of you who are fighting the good fight to ensure that New Orleans, who has celebrated its 300th anniversary, will have another 300 years of still being the best American city. And so we're so excited to have you. And so we're going to sign off and say goodnight, everybody. And I'm going to ask you two to hold the line while we say bye, everybody.
Bye.